Hello and welcome back. Forgive no floating Zordon head. Like, subscribe to all your stuff. And go follow, because I'm Shadowbanned as hell, by the way. But go follow Sam on Twitter. He is fantastic and really says it like it is. I was going to do a whole complicated thing with lists of different things that this agent is talking about. But it's people like her are the reason you're never going to get published. And let me explain why. His translations are hilarious, as you can see here. I mean, parent issues, know-it-all MCs, inferiority complex tied to race and gender, etc. Friends are enabler, no white heteros, punch turfs, angry girls, simp boys, no vanilla swirl. And I'm not going to say what that is, you might have to Google it. It's just, the whole thing is just funny. But it's people like this are the reason so many great writers that I know are going independent and following through. And I looked at this person's website, and she, is seeking YA and adult SFF and YA contemporary. She's only open to receiving queries from writers from marginalised backgrounds, such as, but not limited to, those who identify as BIPOC, LGBTQ, ND, DIS. Her favourite traits and topics include found family, I should say, like, really? I mean, that's a nice trope, but come on. Protagonists that are smart for their own good, aka the know-it-all stories that are embracing our identity and finding the path. There is a certain level of condescension, and I went on a deep dive with this person. It's so bad. And as Sam said here, looking for more rip-offs than original fiction, which is actually kind of sad, because they're not looking for original fiction, they're looking for things that are rip-offs, and there is a fundamental different thing to that. Like, originality does not really exist in fiction, and it's the reason so many great people are not getting published, not getting talked about, and it's interesting to see that so open about it. Like, these lists have been around for a very long time, and it shows. I am laughing though, because it's just, I'm just watching this go down, and he hits the nail on the head here where he translates some of it. As you can see, it's funny, and there's lots of words I can't say here, but her website is a mess. Her hobbies include you're burning down the patriarchy and or destroying colonization. You're revising or reimagining colonialism. You've got D&D or other tabletop Easter eggs, or inside jokes to Devil May Cry or Final Fantasy. Your story is an emotional resonance of games like Old Man's Journey, and your story is politically complex and ethnic realities of animes like Gundam and Full Metal Jacket. Fun facts about me: I have 5 cats, and that's the only way to live. Of course you have 5 cats. I mean, this is the thing. Like, there are so many great novels that will never get love they really deserve. And that's sad. And this is why people are going indie. This is why people are sick of being told what they can and can't do by people like this and just going indie. It's simple. It's not anything. You actually have control over your work. And I know lots of amazing writers that won't get published because they're not fitting these quotas, these boxes. And that's sad. The publishing industry has been on its knees, and I talked about this in another video. If you're a writer, you will be lucky to sell 6 copies of your book a year. And that's tragic. That is tragic, because there are so many great works that don't get put on the publisher's top billing. So unless you're a very lucky person in that small percentage of AA list writers such as Stephen King, they're probably not even going to bother promoting your work. There is very little difference. And before anyone says it, access to editors and cover artists can be done so easily now. It's so easy to find editors that work with big publishers that do it for indies too. And the snobbery of indie books is also off the charts, let's be honest. There is a lot of, people go, well, you must support this and you must support that, and independent music and art and independent comic books. Ew, it's an independent book. Like, come on. There is some bad independent stuff. Morgan Rice is the prime example of that. But I mean, I'm looking at his translations and I'm laughing. Feminist, read misandry, power fantasy, intersectionality, read oppress versus oppressor power fantasy. Anti-foreign, read xenophobic power fantasy. Drama and melodrama, nuanced politics, an obvious lie. And I mean, there are some things I can't read because the gods of Google, but there is some really questionable stuff here. But I went into this person in a way that I never thought was possible. And I'm laughing my head off. Because it's very obvious. I mean, I'll read this. This is on a website. This is on links. You probably know who I'm talking about. Just go on Twitter and look for Publishing Agent Whitelist or something. She prefers book where romance is secondary, but identity and self-love are primary. In fantasy, immersive worlds based outside of Western culture. But she would find it problematic if anyone from a Western culture wrote those. I'd love to see books with BIPOC leads that use fae and fairy tales from non-Western cultures. She is particularly excited to see West Indian culture and mythology. Well, that's actually good. I'll give credit there. There is not enough books on those things, but they all the few that are tend to be terrible YA novels. So let's be honest. And then just breaking it down even more. It's sad. It's a really sad state of affairs. In science fiction, she prefers FS that focus on exploring the human condition. Her tastes lean towards adult, but would welcome YA that explores such ideas and makes her crave adventure. Accepts all subgenres of adult and young adult science fiction, except military science fiction. Do not, in capital letters, send them military science fiction. In horror, she prefers books that make her feel disturbed or unsettled rather than gore or jump scares. If your book reads like a Black Mirror episode, she'll probably want to see it. Do not send her splatter or slasher horror. But then she says all genres accepted. Oh, genre binding, retellings or reimaginings that match this wish list are welcome. Like, there is so many reasons a lot of traditional publishing is stale. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And there is no way around it. I think creativity, there are great books, by the way. There are great trade published books. But especially in genre fiction lately and young adult, it's very generic. It's very dry. There is nothing particularly interesting. It's very boring, and what I find fascinating is that I know people that are selling hundreds of copies every month of their self-published work that's been edited by a well-known editor that has worked for one of the big five, and making a crap ton of money, but they couldn't get this book published because it didn't meet certain expectations. And I find that sad. Like, books are meant to be escapism, not let's ram this down your throat, let's do this, let's do that. It's just, it's frustrating because my history here is I've been conventionally published a very long time ago. And it was a horrible experience. They took a 450-page adult science fiction novel and edited it down to a just under 300-page terrible YA novel that didn't sell at all, and this is long ago, so this is before all this, the rights reverted back to me and I deleted that nasty little piece of crap off the internet. It was horrible. Only the plot and the character names and some of the story beats were familiar, but I had no control over it. And that is the downside. Like, it's very obviously she wants books that feed in her fantasies rather than actual literature. So it's not about, for her, it's not about the quality of the work, it's about her own power fantasies and being able to live them on the page. And that's a really sad way to exist, and I'm sure her 5 cats love her. It's just ridiculous. Like, creativity seems to be discouraged when people like her are not helping the publishing industry. And I said this, literary agents are on their way out. Literary agents haven't been useful for a very long time, and there's so many ways to bypass them now. There's so many ways to publish, and things like the Iron Age, I think, are important for that reason. You are not being told that you can't do this and can't do that, and the quality of the work speaks more for itself. But, like I said in another video, you've got tons of self-published books that aren't great. There are some amazing ones, and you might have to dig a little, but some of the best books that I have read, some of the best edited books, some of the best constructed books, best storytelling I have read in the last few years have been completely independent. And that's simple. That is absolutely the truth. And it's a real shame that people like this are not just gatekeeping industry, but dictating everything. The quality of the work should stand, and I have a strong dislike of literary agents, having dealt with them in recent years. I hate them all, and I think they're the most useless job on the planet. And many mainstream publishers now won't accept your work without a literary agent, or it's been edited and completed before it's done. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Go indie, self-publish, do your stuff, and go from there. I will talk to you guys later.